The Incredibles, Learning Circle 1, Moneyball, by Lauren Bain, Allison Danley, Kathy Massey, Anna Schultz, and Kyle Springfield. In the movie Moneyball, Billy Beane, the general manager for the Oakland Athletics, is given a difficult task of winning a championship in Major League Baseball. With only a fraction of the salary to work with compared to the rest of the league, Billy must come up with a new way to build a team. In order to compete within the league, Billy adopts a statistical approach instead of using the same traditional approach. While adapting a statistical approach aided the team's chances of winning, it was Billy's leadership skills that ultimately led the team to be one of the best within the league. Among many of Billy's leadership qualities, some of the most notable skills that contributed to the team's success was his ability to adapt his strategy to gain a new competitive advantage, utilize his roster strengths to produce their best results, and use new innovative ways to provide his team the best chance for success. In this presentation, we will discuss these leadership skills and how they help Billy succeed.
Courage, conviction, compassion. In the movie Moneyball, the protagonist Billy Beane states, "If you cannot win the game, change the game." This is an essential scene of Billy emerging as a transformational leader. A transformational leader identifies needed change, creates a vision, and implements action. Transformational leaders are courageous and committed. In Moneyball, Billy Beane was compassionate about the game of baseball and was very competitive. He often stated that the only important win was the last game of the season. Billy believed wholeheartedly in his theory of using data analytics to assemble a competitive winning baseball team. Once his team respected his ideas and believed in themselves through the process, the Oakland A's became the winningest team in baseball and proved that Billy's theory was successful. Billy Beane's leadership was the spark to get the team motivated. It served as a catalyst. The team envisioned and focused on the big picture. They swung at better pitchers, they took their walks, earned more runs, and they won more games. Billy stayed courageous in his efforts throughout the movie, even through the criticism, struggles, and losses. We can all better ourselves as leaders if we are courageous, compassionate, and take pride in our convictions the way Billy Beane did. Life may throw us curveballs, but we must always step up to the plate and swing the bat.
While the movie Moneyball provides great entertainment, it is actually based on the true story of how a man named Billy Beane changed baseball. Throughout the movie, Billy Beane solves problems by assessing the team's weaknesses and focusing on developing their strengths. As general manager of the Oakland A's, Billy is faced with a dilemma. His team is not acquiring good players. Originally, this problem is depicted as a lack of financial resources. Billy, however, urges his team of scouts to look at the problem differently and tackle it from a new angle. His new solution isn't to hire the most popular and well-known overall players, but to pick players based on a skills analysis with a specific talent and to help them develop that talent. He enlists Peter Brand to help him, who explains this by saying, "It's about getting things down to one number. Using the stats the way we read them, we'll find value in players that no one else can see. People are overlooked for a variety of biased reasons and perceived flaws. I believe that there is a championship team of 25 people that we can afford because everyone else in baseball undervalues them." A great example of this strength-based leadership is when Billy recruited catcher Scott Hattenberg for his high on-base percentage, which leads to runs scored. However, due to nerve damage in his elbow, Scott had difficulty playing in his old position. Billy didn't focus on this, but worked on developing Scott's strengths to make him into a first baseman. It's also important to recognize Billy's strengths and not just how he brought out others. While he displays the Clifton strengths of arranger and developer, the strength that might be most credited for his success is responsibility. Billy took ownership of everything that happened to his team. He takes responsibility for mistakes while maintaining a positive attitude. He's not deterred by initial failure, but instead he makes sure they are asking the right questions. He admits his mistake of not initially explaining to the team the new direction he was taking them, and once he corrects this mistake and makes sure everyone is working together to achieve a common goal, the team is able to achieve unprecedented success.
This is a funny exaggeration about the battle at Lexington during the American Revolution. The Americans utilized frontier tactics for this particular battle. Instead of lining up the way it had always been done in war, the Americans stood behind trees and fences to hide from being fatally wounded. The British didn't do well, of course. Big red coats in a line made for excellent targets. But wasn't the formal military approach the way it had to be done? Maybe not. Simply because it is the way it has always been doesn't mean it's the right way. For instance, baseball clubs picked their players by how they looked. If players had a crazy pitch or were left-handed, they were thought of as less valuable than a good-looking player. Enter Billy Beane. The Oakland Athletics small ball club can't compete with large teams like the Yankees using the same criteria. They don't have enough funding. A change is necessary. When Billy sees Peter Brand in a meeting with the Cleveland Indians, he notices that Peter hardly says anything. When he does, he whispers in the ear of one gentleman who whispers into the ear of the general manager. Billy then gets rejection after rejection for his suggested trades. When he asks Peter who he is that the general manager listens to him, Peter eventually says he is a graduate of Yale with an economics degree. Peter has located an obscure economics paper with a formula that can generate a player's run average. Billy can change his strategy to compete with the Yankees by finding cheap players with run potential. However, it makes a great deal of conflict between Billy and his team. Billy uses a directing style that causes one talent scout to quit, even though Billy takes all of the risk. His listening and sensitivity leadership skills are also missing. He does not have empathy for his players, the coach, nor his staff. Change is difficult to embrace and one of the top stress factors in the workplace. As leaders, we are taught to listen to our peers and staff. Using a team management style from the behavioral approach leadership grid would better serve Billy. Of course, the risk pays off and the Oakland A's start winning, but only after a great deal of staff storming. And remember Peter? He was whispering suggestions. If you listen, you might find the one person who can change your entire industry.
My colleagues have given many examples of how leadership is displayed throughout Moneyball. We talked about strength-based leadership, strategy, and transformational leadership. In strength-based leadership, we saw how Billy assesses weaknesses and focuses on strength of players. For strategy, just like the soldiers in the American Revolution, Billy demonstrated strategy by changing how he approached the task at hand and acknowledged the way to complete a task is going to look different from other teams. Finally, Billy demonstrated transformational leadership with his motivation, compassion, and courage. Finally, we'd like to hear from you. We discussed several leadership techniques used in Moneyball that were successful for Billy Beane. What leadership techniques have you experienced where there is a conflict and change in culture within the team? Would you have done the same thing or something different? A final thought before we leave you to your day. A leader does not always have all the answers, but they must be willing to make changes and adapt. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing your comments about your experiences.